All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We do not have any data to cover so far. We do have some wholesale inventories coming out at 10 a.m., which is typically low impact, so not a whole lot to worry about there. Let's take a look at our trade plan from yesterday. By the way, sorry for not putting out a video for the summary of markets. I was pretty busy this weekend, and I went to make the video. It was pretty late. And I noticed that there was no change in oil, no change in gold, no change in Bitcoin. There really wasn't a reason to put out a new video for our weekly trade plan. There's also like no news today. So it would have been a kind of pointless video, to be honest. But all right, taking a look at our trade plan for today. Holding above 6,000, we're looking for 19 and 45. That rotation into 19 has already been completed. So we will adjust that upper level to 19. We will still look for 45. So we're going to say 25 and 45 as our targets. 25 should be fairly easy to hit. And our lower trade plan is the same, holding below 6,000, looking for 57 and 28. So today does not have a P-shape imbalance, obviously, but we are inside of the value area of a P-shape profile. So I would still keep that P-shape bias as long as you're holding above Friday's value low. So holding above 766, that is Friday's value low. We're going to look for 854 and 935. And then holding below that level, we're going to look for 660 and 470. That rotation into 854 is nearly complete. We're about halfway there, so I'll leave that target as it is. Alright, there is the trade plan for you guys. Not a whole lot changed from our plan from last night, if you guys read that one. Good morning, Shane, Scott, Techie, Backpack and Roman, Shima, Andrew, Jose, LDM, Angelo. Good morning, James, Steve, Gunk, Moto, Larry, Shay, Blair, Zine, AT, Trevor, Sam, Unleashed, 2013. Good morning, everybody. Alright, so we got a few minutes left. Let's double check, see if I have to update any of our plans. I know I didn't put out a video yesterday, so let's go ahead and do that now. So we are breaking through that bearish VWAP on Bitcoin, so still just continuing towards our 113 target. Keep an eye on that lower high around 110, possibly for some sell pressure in that area. Gold still hovering inside of that distribution. We're right on the POC, pretty much to the exact dollar. If it does start pushing towards that range high, look for that value high around 34.08 and then the breakout around 42. Oil has reclaimed its bearish VWAP, obviously holding above its bullish VWAP, so still continuing to look for around 66 and 67. I know there's a lot of movement on silver recently. Let's take a look at silver. It looks like it's hitting our breakout targets from quite a while ago. Let's go ahead and update some of these levels here. So our bullish VWAP would be from the low here Our bearish VWAP would be from that high. Obviously reclaiming both. Very strong reclaim around 33 and a quarter. Looks like we are hitting our first breakout target. Second breakout target on silver would be 38.50 to 38 even. Trying to break a very massive weekly and monthly range right now. So it looks like metals are doing pretty good. Let's take a look at a few things here before we get started. 30-minute trend is bullish, running into a pivot around 20. Keep an eye on that pivot. 1 hour trend bullish, breaking the pivot. No daily pivots in our way. No 4 hour pivots. There is a pivot around 6102. Weekly trail flipping green. We'll see if that holds green at the end of the week. That'll be a very good flip. Monthly still looking pretty good. All right, daily still holding above that 80 and 6,000, so it looks like a daily breakout here. High time frame buyers possibly taking over. The macro markets are pretty flat, not a lot of movement. Bitcoin's up a little bit, and that's about it. NQ retesting that prior high and bouncing, so it looks like the high time frame buyers are definitely in control unless we have some headlines or some data to stop that. All right, just waiting on the open now. Good morning, Ronaldo. Kim, Ken, Devil, Bilal, Simon, OC, Fernando. Good morning, everybody. I don't worry too much about the pre-market delta. We see trends like this pretty often, where the pre-market delta is not following the price. We'll see if the open fixes that problem or not. It is definitely a very obvious trend. The trend is extremely bearish on delta. But yeah, we'll see how the open reacts. Might be a pretty quiet day. There's not really a whole lot going on today. Morning, Luke's. Tamer. Good morning, guys. Happy Monday, everybody. Keep an eye on these 30-minute levels. We have a bit of a range going into the open here. The last 4 candles kind of stuck in the same range. It's a 10-point range from 6,011 to 21. So far, holding that 11 as a support here. Ordinary 343 friendly. Good morning, guys. Still holding that range low at 11. Buyers stepping in. Delta still pretty bearish on NASDAQ. Rebound is very clearly bearish here. Bounced up, bounced up into that 12 to 13 level. The rebound sold immediately. Now losing 11. Here's VWAP at 07. VWAP on NASDAQ coming up at 775. Keep an eye on these value lows around 6,000. Nice whole number there. 767 or 65, somewhere around there on NQ. Trying to lose VWAP on ES here. A lot of sell pressure into 06. Not really any buyers here. Look at this tape here. Look at how fast the tape goes from 13 to 6. There's like no buy pressure here, and there's barely any sell pressure. You can see on the delta footprint, the volume footprint, I should say, it confirms that fact. There's basically nobody trading in that little 6-point range there. It was able to drop with only a few hundred contracts. So possibly hunting for liquidity here, because there was definitely no liquidity on that 6-point move. That pre-market delta trend is holding. I think I have the subtitles turned on. Let me see. It doesn't allow me for some reason. The button is blocked. Good morning, boat. All right, here's that nice whole number at 6,000. Very bottom heavy candle. They need to hold below 07, which is VWAP. Trying to front run VWAP to the buy side on NQ. Not a lot of action on the big traders today. Look at the large tapes. The large tapes are pretty much empty. Seems like the big boys are waiting on the data later this week. Morning, TK. ES and NASDAQ not following each other too much. The trend is following, but candle by candle, it's a little sloppy. ES is much cleaner. Good morning, Lulu. Good morning, Joan. All right, here is that 6K, that bottom heavy node getting its getting what it wants here. Little sell pressure below it. We'll see if they can hold below that 6K node. If you start holding below 6K, it gets a lot weaker. Little bit of absorption on that level. Sellers getting stuck on 6K here, about 400 contracts. All right, keep an eye on the rebound back into this node here. This is pulling back to retest VWAP at 05. If we start seeing a lot of buy pressure above 05, very easy to retrace that little sell-off from earlier. Needs to reclaim VWAP here, which might be a little hard. A lot of buyers stepping in on that whole number at 6K. All right, that initial rebound into VWAP acting as a bear flag in the VWAP here. They are selling that node at 05. We did not see any buy pressure above it. I think the highest tick was, let me see, it was 575. Lower low target on NASDAQ achieved already, stalling out on ES a little bit. ES trying to put in a higher low here. The sellers are still looking for that lower low on ES. They're still holding that higher low for now. They need to hold below this 05 node. The market's possibly seeing that sell-off as a little bit extended. It was pretty quick. They might be trying to see if that area has any value, because it did not really get tested on the way down. Another back test of VWAP here. Let's see if they can find any buyers at 06 or above. So far, the highest tick is 5.25. There's a 6 tick, 6.25. 650, 675, 7, climbing very easily now. Like I said, possibly testing to see if that little zone has value, because they did not test it on the way down. It just blew right through it. Highest tick right now is 7. There's another high, 750. Possibly going to 9 or 10. Here's the 24 EMA. This is why it's so important. I talk about this on my bear flag to VWAP, bear flag into VWAP videos. If it puts in a higher low there, it kills that trade almost immediately. So you got your target on NASDAQ. You hit VWAP, lower low target achieved. You did not get a lower low on ES. As soon as it stalled there, that trade was pretty much dead. You've always got to watch out for that possible higher low because you're breaking market structure. You're shifting the momentum. Okay, here's that zone. Let's see if they can find some sell value here. Buy pressure still pretty strong on NQ. Still holding that inside chop. We are inside of Friday. Like I said on the trade plan, we said it's a P-shape bullish bias because we are inside of Friday's P-shape. So we are still respecting Friday's P-shape as long as that value low is protected, which this pullback basically confirmed it is protected because that value low is at 6K. So you basically have that inside day chop here. Still not seeing like any action on the large traders. One at a time, going to Jazz. 24 EMA trying to hold on ES. That's that last line of support. Or I guess I would say resistance for the responsive sellers here. They're also protecting that little lack of value, that LVN zone. The only data we have coming out today comes out in 15 minutes. It should be fairly low impact. Still maintaining higher lows here, trying to put in a higher low above VWAP on NQ. This week, I'm going to try to stick to the same schedule that we had last week. So we're obviously going to have all the live streams Monday through Friday. I'm going to try to have recaps every day, Monday through Friday. And then possibly a teaching video on Saturday. And if there's any major changes to our trade plans, we'll put that on Sunday as well. Yeah, we're going to try to keep that schedule for most of June. We'll see how it goes. For Saturday, I'll probably just like pick the best setup of the week. And we'll make a little teaching video about it. And then we'll keep our recaps going Monday through Friday, probably about 10-15 minutes long. A little bit of bullish absorption at 07 to 08. A lot of buyer delta there, not really going anywhere. This is a pretty strong delta flip here on the delta trend. So if they can maintain this delta, they should be continuing to push possibly 15, possibly 20. Just keep an eye on that delta. There's a lot of delta coming in. Okay, if it pulls back to retest this cluster here, you need to keep an eye on that rebound. They need to see immediate buy pressure. Basically right here. You don't want to see any sell pressure below 06. Trade plan is always pinned in chat, Sam. It's on my post section. I don't think you can search post. I think the posts are just like there. It's kind of like Twitter where it goes in a timeline. I don't think you can search them. Good morning, Mark. Mohammed, good morning. Okay, no rebound. Sell pressure below 06 almost immediately. Lowest tick is 5.25. They're trying to protect this node at 5. Looks like a bear flag in the VWAP still. Instead of that very short one that we saw earlier, it's kind of a more elongated one. There is a difference in market structure here, though. You have a higher low coming in on NASDAQ above VWAP, but you have a bear flag in the VWAP on ES, so definitely not what you want to see. Unfortunately, this is what happens on inside days. Inside days are very choppy. Their market structures don't typically line up. Looks like that higher low leading to a little bit of buy pressure on ES as well. We need to hold above like 08. You can see that 24 EMA is still holding us down on the sell side. So if the buyers want to take over, they do need to hold above 08. Still basically no action on the large tapes here. The large traders are sleeping. Good morning, Jefferson. Looks like the market structure on NASDAQ is winning the battle here. Higher low above VWAP, leading to some buy pressure. That bullish absorption at 07 acting as support now. The top of this candle still very weak, very easy to retrace. We are still in a rotation going from, we're actually finishing the rotation on NASDAQ. The rotation on ES, let's see here. We need to go up to 14, possibly 19. Yeah, Paul, that's pretty much just standard. I think like, if it's like absolutely average, I think it's around 30 points, I believe. Like 30 points per 10. 30 to 40. So 50 is a little bit high. They're obviously not going to be the same. ES is 6,000, NASDAQ is 22,000. and their liquidities are not even close to being the same. ES has way more liquidity. Well, it's supposed to. Oh, by the way, it's not, I don't know if it's like 100% confirmed. I was waiting on some more information about it. But I was seeing some people talk about it on Twitter, seeing some people talk about it on YouTube. I believe it was Top Step and what was the other one? My Funded Futures, I believe it was. They possibly have data leaks. So make sure you guys are keeping an eye on like your credit cards. If you guys are using Top Step or My Funded Futures, I believe those were the two. I haven't heard anything about Apex. Apex sounds like they're good, knock on wood. But Top Step and My Funded Futures, there were some people talking about possible data leaks that have leaked their passwords and possibly their credit cards. So definitely not good. But thankfully, we are on Apex, and they haven't had any breaches as of right now. Knock on wood. Yeah, and guys, be very careful. If you get emails like that, do not click on those emails. Even if it says like, oh, this is coming from Top Step, you need to change your password. Never click on emails like that. If you need to change your password, you need to log into the site directly. Do not go through your email. I shouldn't have to say that, but hopefully you guys know the proper ways to use the internet. We need to be extremely careful in the trading world, in the finance space. It's like in the Discord. I have people message me every now and then, and they're like, "Hey, is this you messaging me on Discord?" And they're like talking about crypto scams and like all this other stuff, right? It's like it's very clearly not me. So be very careful, guys. The finance space is filled with people trying to get your information. It's why my chat is always on subscriber only, and you have to be a sub for like 10 minutes, because if I turn that off, we literally just get spammed with people trying to steal shit. So the feet pics I got weren't you either? No, those were me. Those are me. Yeah, I send those out to like gold members. Good morning, Tom. What time is it? We've got about 4 minutes left until that data comes out. But yeah, long story short, just be careful. Check your credit cards if you guys have like credit cards for your payments on Top Step or My Funded Futures. Just make sure they're not being charged for a bunch of random stuff. I would definitely go in and change your passwords. Like I said, do not ever change your password through an email like that. Always make sure you're logged into the proper site and everything. And if you're on like 5 different funding programs, like 5 different companies, you probably don't want to have the same password and the same credit card for all of them. I'm not saying you need 5 credit cards, but you get what I'm saying. at least change it up a little bit. Yeah, a lot of the credit companies do those like locks where you can just like freeze them. And if you ever need to use your credit, like open up a new card or something, you can unfreeze it. Want to use it? Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Cotton. Very different market structures here. Still looks like a possible bear flag in a VWAP on ES, but we are on the high of day, finishing the rotation on NASDAQ. Keep an eye on this sell-off here on ES. If they can hold any of the pullbacks below 07, below that node, they should be able to continue here. Here comes that data in a couple minutes, but it should be low impact. Yeah, GK, I used to sell HVAC many years ago. What area are you in, GK? You were in Virginia? Yeah, it might have been me. Might have been. Here's that bear flag into VWAP. Yeah, Cotton, I hear that, man. My office is like a sauna. It's gotten a lot better since I fixed my processor. For a couple years there, though, my processor was absolutely cooking my office. All right, how did that data come out? Let's take a look here. 0.2% over 0%, so a little bit high. Market is taking it bullishly so far. I'm not sure, Simon. You'd have to keep an eye on it on stream. I don't watch it like all the time, so I'm not sure. It looks like it's working. Yeah, Con, I never did any of the installation stuff or anything like that. So I'm not sure. I was just the sales guy. Yeah, my bar timer, is it? Is it working? Let me see. I think it's working. Yeah, it looks good. Still seeing a lot of absorption at 08, which is failing to rotate. It should rotate back to 15 to 20 to finish that rotation, but we are not getting there. Yeah, you have to look bigger picture with ES trades. You have to trade ES kind of like I do, where your trades are minimum 30 minutes, possibly 45 minutes to an hour. If you look for the smaller trades on ES, you're just going to get bored out of your mind. Okay, bit of a rollover top here, not in the sense that we like to trade, not the same type of rollover top, but just like the standard rollover pattern where the momentum is rolling over. You went from putting in higher highs to putting in lower highs. So momentum is rolling over down to possibly the lower low to give them the target they were not able to get earlier. They're really lacking bearish delta, which is pretty funny because if you look at the pre-market, they had plenty of bearish delta earlier. I can't tell if my large tape is just not working or there's just no large orders. I think there's just no large orders, excuse me. Can't speak today. No, there really just are no large orders coming in. I mean, look at the tape here. Yeah, the last one is that order right there, 101. Very consistent, like medium-sized orders. But we are not seeing any large orders, anything over 100. You guys have to remember during days like this, during these like inside days, you really want to monitor the higher time frame value levels, right? The full session value levels. And we're kind of just bouncing back and forth. You're not going to see that significant breakout or initiative volume until you hold below that value low or you hold above that value high, right? So we have a P-shape imbalance because we're still inside of Friday. And as soon as we lose that value low, obviously that lower tail can possibly be chopped out. But if we hold that value low, you're just rotating, rotating, rotating until we hold value back above that high. So not only is it an inside day, it's an inside D-shaped day, which typically makes it very choppy, right? So got to be careful. Which is why I'm not reading the tape too much today, because tape reading is more of an initiative thing. It helps you when those trends are being established. Yeah, Tamer, I did watch UFC. It was pretty good, man. It was not a bad pay-per-view. The Kayla fight was very good. Me and my buddy just could not stop laughing because that might have been the worst commentary I have ever heard on any UFC fight. Not just that fight, all of the entire pay-per-view was like the worst commentary I have ever heard. We were laughing our asses off. They kept like calling out things that they said were happening, which were very clearly not happening. They kept saying like the other fighters were winning. They very clearly were not winning. Like I know as commentators, they got to keep people interested. So they got to make it seem like it's not a one-sided fight. But it was really bad. Like I said, it was laughable. We were laughing our asses off. It was like a comedy show. Joe Rogan is usually pretty good. It's usually Cormier that does that. Like we always joke about Cormier. He is just terrible at commentating. I don't know how he has that job. Be very careful right now, guys. Not only is it a D shape, not only is it an inside day, it is also not following each other on ES and NASDAQ. They're going, just kind of doing their own thing here. There's a big block trade on NASDAQ, 300 contracts at 818, pushing that high. Well, I think Sean got humbled the last time they fought. I think this time just made him realize that he's just basically never going to win that fight. It's just a terrible matchup. It's almost the exact same matchup as Conor and Khabib. And Conor's just never going to beat Khabib. Well, obviously that's never going to happen again, but you know what I mean. It's just one of those matchups where the wrestler is going to win. Okay, still looking for that rotation on ES back to 14, back to 19. Rotation on NASDAQ is already completed, but if it rotates Friday, it's going to 855. I'm glad Sean started to lose because I hate this like character, this like persona that he became. I loved Sean in the beginning. He was like one of my favorite fighters. And then he became like this like edgy, I don't even know what he's trying to be. He just became like this edgy, like almost teenager. All right, keep an eye on the buy pressure here. A lot of bullish delta around 0708. So if it does pull back to that area, it has to be respected immediately. If they rebound back into this little cluster right here. Well, there was a headline that came out that they said they would offer John Jones and Aspinall like really high paychecks for that fight. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a lot of millions. Keep an eye on that rotation on NASDAQ, looking for 855, I believe it was. 45 or 55? I think it was 55. Getting a little extended off that ADMA on both ES and NASDAQ. I didn't hear that, Tamer. Were they chanting that during like a press conference, or you mean like on Saturday? Oh, the press conference, I got you. A little bit of sell pressure coming in here. Keep an eye on that rebound. Could be a very weird bulldog here. If it pulls back to like 07 and holds on to 07 as support, 07, 08. Probably 08 is closer. No, I watch what I watch. Like what you're looking at right now is what I watch. I don't really watch Russell or Dow Jones or anything like that. How about Nunez coming back to fight Kayla? You know, Juliana is pissed. She was begging Amanda to come back. She wanted to get paid for that fight. And then Juliana gets absolutely destroyed. And then Amanda is coming back to fight Kayla. That's hilarious. I honestly don't think the Juliana fight would be watchable anyway. I think Amanda would destroy her. I know they've already fought twice, but I just don't think anyone cares about that fight, to be honest. And I think Kayla wins that easy. Probably not easy, but I think she wins. If it was at the higher weight class, she would win easily. Well, Tamer, that's what I was saying. Is she is absolutely jacked. Like she's a genetic specimen, right? At the lower weight class, she is still jacked, which is insane. And she was talking about how that was like the hardest weight cut of her life. She was saying that she was basically dying. So I think if they fought at the higher weight class, she would win that very easily. It might be a decent fight on the lower weight class. Choppy, choppy, choppy day here, guys. Be careful. Yeah, I think what the Russian fighters and the Dagestani fighters have that the like American fighters don't have is when they start winning and they start making all this kinds of like crazy money, they don't care. But the American fighters, they like let it affect their entire lives. Like they become like this millionaire, right? They become this character. Yeah, the McGregor effect. That's exactly what it is. I remember telling my friends way back when McGregor won that, or not won that, he fought that Mayweather fight. I was basically saying, like, that's it. His career is over. He made so much money during that fight, he's done. Keep an eye on that 55 target coming up on NASDAQ. It's basically already hit, but one more push will definitely finish filling that in. Chain, I believe they do. It's just like a drawing tool, like over here. There's a dynamic POC. And I think they have it on the indicators as well, I believe. But you can use the dynamic POC, and that works too. Why is 855 the target? I believe it's the value high of Friday. Yeah, value high of Friday. So here's that target, guys. If you traded that rotation on NASDAQ, 766 to 855. That is our bullish trade plan target. Next target is 935 if it does continue to break out. There's a couple of smaller targets there. If you want to target the high around 875 or the node around 910, you can target those as well. What's the new sale Apex just did? Let me see. I think it's 80%. Yeah, it's 80%. Forgot to put the poll up earlier. If you guys like the video or like the content, hit that like button. It does help a lot on YouTube. Appreciate you guys. Not a whole lot to talk about today, guys. Not too exciting. It's basically just a value rotation day. I don't overly commentate or do analysis during these rotations because there's not much to say. These are trades you really have to be patient on. You're trying to be a buyer around the value low and hold it as long as you can to the value high. You're trying to be a seller around the value high, hold it as long as you can, back down to the value low. And that's pretty much it. The only time you really need to start paying attention is around that value high, around that value low, and around VWAP. And typically VWAP is around the POC, and you need to track if it's going to be a failure to rotate. So like right now on NASDAQ, we're trying to pay attention and see if it's going to continue to break balance. So if we keep seeing higher highs and higher lows above 45 to 55, then obviously we are breaking balance and we're looking for those higher targets. If we start seeing rollovers, we start seeing bear divs, we start seeing bearish clusters, whatever it may be, then obviously we are not breaking out. Sorry, I just remembered I forgot to post this workspace in Discord on Friday. I will post it later today. If I forget, just send me a message in Discord. I need to clean up some of these charts. Like this one I don't need. This one I could actually... Let's make this one the NASDAQ one. And we're going to have to scale NASDAQ. And then we'll leave that like it is. But yeah, going back to the Kayla fight, the way she switched from the head and arm choke to the Kimura was fantastic. That was one of the best submissions we've seen in a long time. And she did that without like barely any leverage. That was just pure strength. She wasn't even like using her body as leverage. She wasn't in the proper like position for that submission. She just did it with pure muscle. Keep an eye on these 30-minute highs. We have not taken out a 30-minute high so far today. I like watching Kayla fight because she's one of those fighters that they're so technical. She doesn't have wasted movement. Like all of her movement makes sense. She's like trying to get into a certain position or trying to reverse a position or something, you know what I mean? So like right before that submission, you could see all of her little movements she was doing had a purpose. She was trying to get her in the head and arm choke. She tried to step over, but she was like blocked by the cage. So she couldn't get into the position to like turn her clockwise. And then she instantly switched to the Kimura and then submitted. It was beautiful. If you didn't see it, go back and watch it. It reminded me of like the Mighty Mouse flying armbar. She was a great addition to the UFC. She's basically speedrunning the UFC. We're just keeping it on the 30-minute high, guys. Just waiting on this high to break. Or possibly not break. We're just seeing what kind of value comes in here. Yeah, Jason, the volume profile on TradingView is actually very good. The only difference between like TradingView's volume profile and a volume profile on something like Addis is Addis has way better data. So the volume profile on Addis can be a bit more accurate. But the funny thing is, I trust the profile on TradingView more than anything else, just because I've used it for so many years, and it's pretty damn accurate. But yeah, other than that, it's like, they're nearly identical. You can probably do fancier things with the settings on something like Addis, but you don't really have to change the settings too much on volume profile indicators. They're pretty much just ready to go. Yeah, TradingView has more users, exactly, yeah. Okay, looks like we are still in rotation here. A lot of sell pressure coming in on NASDAQ. Keep an eye on a possible lower high. We are losing that ADMA here. So the aggressive buyers are starting to run out. We'll see if the responsive buyers are protecting this trend here. If they can stay above the 24 EMA, put in a higher high. But if it puts in that lower high, we're confirming that the 30-minute has failed to break this high here. But yeah, TradingView is very good for like all the basic stuff. Once you start getting into like the advanced stuff like footprint and delta and all that, If it requires that fancy data, that like tick by tick data, I would not use it on TradingView. If it doesn't require fancy data, then you're probably okay. They have like aggregated, basketed data on TradingView. Instead of seeing every single trade as it's happening, you have a wide latency. So it waits for like a certain amount of milliseconds, and then it baskets all those together, and then it sends it forward. It packages the data together. Which is why when like news or like the FOMC is happening, and our price is looking like this on Addis, where it's just going like this, like crazy, on TradingView, what it's doing is it's going like this. It will wait, and then boom. And then it'll wait, and then boom. It won't show you every single trade. It will wait for a little bit, and then basket them together. Okay, now we're here. And then basket them together, now we're here. It's not going to show you every individual tick that's coming in. And if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, pull them up side by side during a fast day. Today, you probably couldn't tell because it's too slow. But during a fast day with like a lot of news, a lot of data, put them side by side. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You can even put Addis side by side with Tradevate or side by side with NinjaTrader, which is basically the same thing nowadays. And Addis will be faster, very slightly. Addis has the fastest refresh rate and tick rate of any platform I've ever used. Now, I haven't used all the platforms. I'm sure there's one that's probably faster. But of everything that I've used, they are the fastest. Why don't I use NT anymore? I think Addis is better than NT in almost every way. Just slightly. It's like a slight improvement on everything. The speed is slightly better. The UI is better. Okay, not putting in a lower high exactly, but we are putting in a double top. So that aggressive buy pressure is coming to an end here. It's whether or not the responsive buyers are going to protect this move. Keep an eye on the 24 EMAs here, the orange lines, and we'll see if those responsive traders are trying to break balance. If they do not protect the 24 here, we're going back into a rotation all the way back down to that value low. Yeah, Roland, I don't do that very much anymore. Like the opening range, initial balance, all those like time sensitive, I don't know what you would call them, like mechanics or whatever. I don't really use that stuff too much anymore. Just doesn't really have a place in my trading. I didn't leave Quant Tower for Addis. I used Quant Tower way back in the day. And then I switched over to NinjaTrader. I don't remember the exact reason. There was some reason why I switched over. And then I just never went back to Quant Tower. I haven't used Quant Tower in like 5 years. Maybe like 3 to 5 years. I can't remember exactly. Look at those responsive buyers there. A lot of buy pressure coming in on that 11. Instantly bouncing off the 24 EMA. Let's see if they can break this 30-minute high structure. We have not been able to break a 30-minute high so far today. I mean, obviously, it's only one candle. There's the high. Responsive buyers doing their job there, protecting the 24 on that initial bounce. Now we need to protect this bullish cluster at 13. Very strong reaction the first time around. Let's see if they get a rebound reaction. Still not seeing a lot of action from the larger traders, but they are starting to come in. 1250, 200 contracts. 1375, 200 contracts. The larger traders starting to wake up at 10:30. Yeah, I was just about to say that, Paul. So during a D-shape rotational day like this, one of the best patterns are these sweeps. We saw this on, I can't remember what day it was. It was Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, one of those days. It was later in the week, I remember that. But one of those days, it was just sweep after sweep after sweep. Because we kept trying to break out of balance. And every time it tried to break out of balance, you had a sweep, you went back into balance. And it looks like that's what it's trying to do right now. Okay, right as I said that, there's the big buyers waking up yet again. 580 contracts at 15. This is definitely a headline. Waiting on that headline to come out. 580 contracts at 15, 500 contracts at 1750, another 300 at 1750 as well. And there is that rebound. Rebounded back into 1350. Big buyers coming in to protect that level. I'm almost certain that's a headline, just waiting on the headline to come out. Doesn't have to be a headline, could just be some large traders. Yeah, it seems like a Wall Street Journal. A couple of headlines coming out about Trump. Let's see. Says President Trump lets Besant levy tech sale controls in China talks. So just headlines coming out about the China talks. So be careful during this high here. You gotta love how often price lines up with headlines, right? The price was almost sitting on the high of day to the tick, and then a headline comes out. Peace, I couldn't tell you, man. That's just 100% a personal preference thing. I've never used Sierra charts, so I couldn't tell you. Good morning, Mauricio. Yeah, I'm sure it's not a coincidence. Exactly, yeah. No, the market is very good at lining up levels with headlines. The big boys know how to push the price around, that's for sure. Yeah, nowadays it's really just personal preference, to be honest. Most platforms are about the same. There's just a couple of little things that are better here and there on every platform. So you really just got to pick one that fits your style. Addis is just absolutely perfect in my style. It has everything I want. The only thing I would complain about with Addis is I wish it had more customization for the footprint. Like, I wish these like cluster settings were more in depth. I think NinjaTrader is slightly more in depth when it comes to like customizing your footprints, like with your filters and just like how you can visualize it. Like one thing I was looking for that's really strange that they don't have is I was trying to make this kind of a profile like how the volume profile is, and it won't let you change the orientation. Like it won't let me flip it to the other side, which is really annoying. And that might just be like an oversight. I bet if I told them about that, they'd probably fix it pretty quickly. Unless I'm just blind and I don't see where the setting is. Like, I know you can make it a profile, but it doesn't match. You can't make it match, like anchor it on the middle. You can only have it anchored on the left, which is, it doesn't look good. But yeah, that's like my only complaint on Addis, is I wish the cluster settings had a bit more customization. If I remember correctly, I think it was Quant Tower. They had like fantastic customization. Like, you could do pretty much anything you could think of on Quant Tower. You could customize almost every little detail, which would be overwhelming for most people, so that would be actually a downside for a lot of people. Yeah, Sierra's like that. Like, Sierra, you can customize like everything. By the way, we still have that sweep coming in here. So that headline tried to break the sweep. It actually made the sweep worse because now the sweep has that bonus of having that absorption. So now we have the absorption on the high, and we have the 30-minute sweep. Here's that 24 EMA. If they start to lose that 24 EMA at 12, it's looking pretty bearish. Back down to VWAP, possibly the value low. There's that sell pressure right on that 12 level. Looks like the big boys agree. There are still headlines coming out about this, like China trade deal stuff, so be careful. The big boys were sleeping, and then the headlines started to come out, and now they're awake. All right, keep an eye on the tape here. We want to see a lot of sell pressure holding back below 12, and that would trigger it back down to VWAP, possibly the value low. Not really seeing any consistent sell pressure below 12 right now. Buyers at 13. Look at the large tape on NASDAQ. Almost entirely green since 1028. So buyers protecting the pullback on NASDAQ here. Let's make our NASDAQ tape a little bit faster. I'm going to drop this down to 25 and we'll see if that's too slow. Or sorry, too fast. Yeah, see, that's just crazy. Like, taking 21 days to learn a platform. I learned Addis in like an hour. Like, I've heard Sierra is just overly complicated. Like, their UI is just insane. I had my entire NinjaTrader workspace replicated on Addis in like less than an hour. And I'm not trying to say that's on me. I'm trying to say that's on Addis. Like, their UI is just so simple that it took me only an hour to replicate my charts. It wasn't hard to find anything, basically. I was just like, where's this? Okay, that's where it is. Like, everything was where you would expect it to be. That's the thing I hate about learning new platforms, is you're like, okay, where's my delta settings? And you have to go through a million loops to find your delta settings. Or it's like, okay, how do I filter my tape or something like that? I feel like Addis, all the settings are where they should be. Do I use TPO levels from the prior day? Yeah, so you don't see them on this chart because it's just hard to see the prior day on that chart. But usually I look at the prior day on this chart to see if there's any poor levels or any single prints that we have to fill in. We don't have any local ones. We filled in all of our levels, which, by the way, look at how ridiculous this is. We filled in that single print from Monday to the absolute tick, and that was the bottom. That was the Thursday bottom, and then we bounced like 100 points, 85 to 100 points out of it. Absolutely ridiculous. That's how clean that single print was. Yeah, Tradeovate is what I call the Robin Hood of futures trading. They are like the most simple platform that still has access to a few advanced tools. But yeah, they're like the Robin Hood of futures. They're very simple. If you want to just jump in and use like an extremely simple layout and trade futures, you can. That's typically what I recommend if you guys are signing up for Apex accounts. Make sure to use Tradeovate if you want to start out simple. If you want to use Addis, you have to sign up for Rhythmic and then connect your Rhythmic account to Addis. That sweep is still in play here. No change in structure. We're waiting for sellers to hold below 12, looking for VWAP, looking for the value low. Yeah, Chain, that's the I think that's the case for a lot of people who try to use Sierra. They're like, okay, I'm done. I've never used it, but every time I look at screenshots, it just looks like it's outdated. It looks like it was a platform made 20 years ago and they never updated it. Keep an eye on VWAP here. We need to lose that 24 EMA on NASDAQ. That should ramp up the sell pressure. There's that loss of the 24 EMA on NASDAQ, ramping up the sell pressure. Here's VWAP on ES. So your halfway target of that sweep has been completed. You're still looking for that rotation down to 04, possibly 6,000 on ES. Same exact thing we saw. I can't remember what day it was. It was was it Thursday? Might have been Wednesday. Whichever day it was, they kept trying to break out of balance and we kept seeing sweeps repeatedly. It's kind of looking like that today. So far that sweep started at 15. It's already down to 07, nearly 10 points. Basically, on the way down, you're just watching the tape to see if you have any clusters of buy pressure that are continuously raising the price. We do not have that. We have little profit takes here and there. We had '07 up to almost 9. Couldn't even bounce 2 points. Here's more buyers coming in at '07. They really like that '07 level. Sellers want to see consistent sell pressure below '07. Just kind of chopping on VWAP here. Buyers stepping in from '07 to 10 here, getting about a 3-point bounce. We'll see if they can hold above 10. Responsive sellers should be holding that 24 EMA at 11. This is what we talked about earlier. When you have that rotation, you pay attention on the value high, the value low, and VWAP. VWAP typically is the POC. Right here we have that. VWAP and POC are the same exact level. So this is where they're trying to stall that rotation. Okay, so yet again, we saw the tape starting to come in on the buy side at 7. It built its way up to 9 1/3, or 3/4, whatever you want to call that. I forget the term the floor traders use for 0.75. It's like a weird term. But yeah, 0.75 there. So they had about 3 points, and now they're failing again. They have a really weird name for 3 handles like that. Forget what it is. Johnny used to say it in Discord because he worked for a firm. They're claiming to have access to Apex as well. Where are you seeing that, Bands? I was seeing they had access to Top Step and my funded futures the last I checked. What's the Twitter account, if you don't mind me asking? It's not that I don't believe you, I just want to look at it. Yeah, I probably wouldn't join a hacker's Telegram. Can you post the Twitter handle of the account that's talking about the Apex stuff? Don't post the link because the chat won't allow you to post the link. Just post the name. Thank you. I'm gonna take a look. All right, I'm gonna remove your message just so people don't click on any of that shit. I didn't realize you were posting like the actual hackers' Twitter. I thought you were posting somebody talking about it. Yeah, obviously, guys, don't click on any shit from that guy's account. No, it's not your fault. That's my bad. I thought you were posting like somebody pulling the screenshots and like doing a little journalist talk about it. You know what I mean? It's all good though. I'll wait for people to tell us if it's real or not. I don't know how to verify any shit like that. I'm not a hacker, so. We'll wait for all the online detectives to figure it out. Just keep an eye on your, like I said, your accounts and your credit cards and whatnot. What are my thoughts on using real time versus extended hour TPOs? I only like watching the cash hours for the most part. I almost never look at the pre-market. Okay, no change here. We're still looking for that rotation back down to the value low. It is stalling a little bit on the VWAP. It's trying to fail to rotate here. Keep it on that 24 EMA. There's no highs above that level right now. Here comes VWAP on NASDAQ. Keep an eye on 821 to 801. Not seeing a significant seller cluster down here. There's a little bit of a cluster at 07, but it's being protected by the buyers. I was covering some of these tricks last week. I'll give you guys little tips and tricks on this more often because I don't show them on stream very much anymore. But for you guys that are using the indicators, same tricks we talked about before. That blue pivot, when you have that in combination with the Momo bottom, typically indicates a very strong bottoming chance. So you had a nice low there. And then same thing on the high. We had a pivot there, but what I talked about last week is if you don't see a clear drop in momentum on those pivots like that, like it looks like the momentum's kind of topped out, maybe rolling over, whatever it may be, look for it to break right away. If it breaks right away, you're not done looking for value. So that one broke right away with that candle right there, pushed up. Now here, look at this one. So this one has a very obvious drop in momentum. So this would be our momentum coming to a halt, right? So then we have that pivot coming in, which leads to a pretty strong move down. Now we don't have a pivot right here. Hard to see. There's a bottom warning there on the Momo. So bottom warning there, bottom warning there. Both have led to decent bottoms. So a couple little tricks there. Like I said, I'll try to give you guys more examples of that throughout the week. I used to show them on stream all the time, but I just got tired of answering questions about them every day, all day. But throughout the week, I'll show you guys some more examples. Okay, turning into a bit of a failure to rotate here, stalling on VWAP, so your halfway point, your halfway target is being hit, but you're not hitting your full target. No, I don't have free versions of those indicators. Those are just the Discord ones. You can see the indecision in the market. Look at this 30-minute candle. We have value pretty much throughout the entire candle. There's no clear bias. Okay, keep an eye on these two nodes here, one at 1350, one at 1375. If we can hold buy value above 14, that will be reclaiming both of those nodes, possibly going back into that break of balance. I haven't seen any more headlines about the India-Pakistan conflict. Is that still going on? It's not going on anymore. Gotcha. Yeah, I was wondering. It's been very quiet about that. That news is hard for me to keep up with because it's just in that area of the world, right? That's usually when I'm sleeping. And by the time I wake up, the Asian headlines are just buried by like London and US headlines. Yeah, Sola, you technically could say it's one time framing up because it's protecting the lows and we are breaking the highs, but it's only doing it for one candle, so I wouldn't really say so. Because this candle here protected the low, but it did not break the high. This candle here protected the low, it did break the high, so it's only one candle. You'd probably want at least 2 or 3 candles to start saying that. They have a ceasefire, gotcha. On the sweep, the front run of the overnight high. The front run of the overnight high. What do you mean? Was it like right? Was it like right above? Oh, you mean like it didn't get to the overnight high? So like you think that it would go back up to hit it? Is that what you're saying? I could see that argument. I don't really think like that a lot of the times. Like I'm not worried about stuff like that. So it wouldn't really bother me on that position, but I can see your argument. That sweep was pretty standard. It went for a break of balance. You had a lot of buy pressure come in above 16. It put in a cluster, which I said earlier was like a bonus. It was a bonus for that sweep, made it stronger. So when you swept back below 15, it was almost entirely a standard sweep because typically for sweeps, we look for a 5 to 7 point stop loss. That's exactly 5 points. So if you took the entry on the sweep, the stop loss is 5 points. Your value low rotation goes all the way down to 6,000. Your halfway point is VWAP. VWAP at the time was 08. So that gave you about a 7 point trade. 7 points with a 5 point stop, very standard. And then your target is 15 points away. Pretty much a textbook sweep. Right now, you would either be fully out of the trade because of the bounce, or you're basically just waiting for it to hit your break even, and then you're out of the trade. And you should have taken profit on VWAP or the POC for at least a partial profit. Yeah, I don't do that too much anymore, like the changing my size based on the how strong or weak the trade looks. Mostly when I change my size, it's based on volatility. Not so much like the setup itself. It just depends. It depends on what the market's doing. Have a good day, Sam. All right, momentum is at that point where it needs to either ramp up or it's going to start forming that rollover. We need to see a spike in momentum here in the next, I'd say, 5 minutes or so, or it's going to start dying out. This is also the cash value high, and the cash profile during an inside day is pretty heavily respected. As we've seen today, the value high and value low have been respected every single time. Cash value high is 13, value low is 04. We have about a 10-point range, which is a pretty normal volatility day. A 10-point to like 15-point value area is pretty standard. If it's above that, it's pretty active. Okay, here's that possible spike in momentum. Let's see if it can actually spike above 14 here. Really struggling to find those aggressive buyers above 14. Our highest tick right now is 14 even. Japan says they're thinking about cash handouts as an inflation relief measure. That is an oxymoron if I've ever heard one. Let's jack up government spending to combat inflation. Oh my. Hey, all the bond traders are still keeping an eye on Japan as the first domino. They keep crying about the possible bond market collapsing. You even have Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan crying about the bond market collapsing. There's that lack of momentum spike there, so now we are rolling over. No buyers above 14. I'm seeing two perma-bear markets right now that I keep getting flooded on my timeline and on my YouTube. It's a housing perma-bear mentality, which is like 24/7. That happens all the time. And a bond market perma-bear mentality. Just being flooded by those videos. I would agree slightly with the housing people now. Not they've been crying for years, but now it's actually starting to show. There are definitely some cracks in the housing market. The demand is extremely low, and the supply is slowly going up. But housing is obviously extremely regional, so got to take it spot by spot. Yeah, it's a good point, Cotton. Both of those perma markets are kind of going against each other, yeah. Or they hurt each other. Because the more the bonds go down, the more the yields go up, which hurts the housing market even more. They are definitely in tandem. I would argue the sweep is still in play here and the rotation is still in play. The failure to rotate not leading to any significant buy pressure, nor leading to any significant buyer delta. If it can break back through VWAP here, that rotation down to 6,000 is still in play. Yeah, the yields are extremely flat. We do have some very important auctions this week. The 10-year bond auction and the 30-year bond auction. 10-year is on Wednesday, 30-year is on Thursday. So we will definitely keep an eye on those. But yeah, here's just an outlook on the bond market. Here's the 2-year, the 10-year. Oops, I skipped one. Here's the 20-year, 30-year. Here's the yields, 2-year yield, 10-year, 20-year, and 30-year. And here's a couple of things that people like to trade that are tied to the bond market. TLT, probably one of the highest traded ETFs that tie to the 20-year. BIL is a I guess you would call it a fixed income. AGG, another one they like to trade. And that's just the mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are 6.85. You can see they're just holding steady. I'm sure there's a bunch of housing charts you can look at. I'm not sure what their tickers are. I usually just look at the data that comes out on like a weekly to monthly basis. Looks like the NASDAQ sweep is also still in play. You had a little back test there, selling right off of that level. Here comes VWAP on NQ. Oh, you know what I need to update on this chart? I need to update these. All right, keep an eye on the VWAP on NASDAQ here, breaking through VWAP on ES. Still looking for that rotation down to 6,000, possibly the cash rotation down to 04 could stall us out again. The cash rotation, like I said, on an inside day is pretty heavily respected. They like watching that cash value low and cash value high. Yeah, exactly. There's the REITs, the REITs. You can look at like ETFs of those. There's like commercial ones, office ones, multifamily ones. You name it. So you can track like ETFs that are typically designed to pay dividends based on. They're almost like fixed incomes. Cash is just a fancy term for the session that starts at 9:30. So from 9:30 to 4 o'clock is like the cash session. Basically, cut out the extended hours. No extended hours. No, I don't watch rotation factor too much. I actually do have an indicator on TradingView, completely open source if you guys want to use it. I think it's on one of these charts. I think I just removed it from my chart. If you look up rotation factor, it should be the one by Oasis Trading. I coded an indicator way back in the day for it. It looks like this. It's open source as well, so if you want to read the code, I'm not sure where the code's right here. If you want to read the code. Rotation factor, buy/sell pressure for market and volume profile by Oasis Trading. You just received a reset password email from TopStep. Yeah, be careful because even if those are real, just don't click them. Just do your reset password from your site itself. The two big ones that I heard are being affected are Top Step and My Funded Futures. Supposedly, they're trying to hack into Apex, but I haven't seen any confirmation on that. There's like a big hacker or like a hacker group that's going after the prop firms, probably somebody who hates trading or lost money trading or something. Why don't I use it anymore? Just doesn't really have a place in my trading anymore. Like everything else in trading, it's personal preference. There are a million things in trading that I don't use. It doesn't mean that they're bad. You can't possibly use everything. A rotation factor should be used on a 30-minute. Anything that's heavily based on volume profile or market profile should probably be used on a 30-minute. Same thing we said earlier, you're just paying attention to this rotation. We are currently in a downward rotation looking for the value low, which we've basically already got on the cash profile. You're within 1 point. The full session is looking for 6,000. You're still in a bearish sweep. They're trying really hard to hold on to VWAP here. Yeah, Jefferson, that happens a lot, man. I think people go through an indicator phase where they throw like a bajillion things on their chart, and they just try to see what works, and they quickly figure it out. They figure out what they like and what they don't like. I think it's a phase that everybody has to go through. You just gotta weed everything out. What's the most useful order flow tool? That's hard. That's a hard one. I'd say for me, I like my middle chart, like my 30-minute footprint. So like delta footprint, volume profile footprint. I'd say for most order flow traders, it's probably like tapes and DOMs. Because most order flow traders are not like me. They're trading, they're like scalping, they're micro scalping. I'm kind of doing something that I wouldn't say you're not supposed to do, but it almost kind of it kind of contradicts itself. Like I'm using order flow to trade longer trades, like day trades, when most people are watching order flow to trade like ticks, like very small scalping trades. So I'd say most people are using something that kind of looks like Bookmap, where they're doing like the bubbles and the DOMs and the tapes. I like the slower order flow. Yeah, order flow is a term that is like completely it is completely up to the trader on how they're using it. Oh, if you think that voice crack was bad, you haven't been here for very long. My voice cracks are pretty bad. My voice is pretty naturally deep, so when my voice cracks, it goes very high. It's very obvious. And I speak for a living, so my voice is going to crack quite a bit. It used to be embarrassing. I used to get embarrassed about it on stream. I don't really care anymore. I just don't drink enough water and I speak all day. And like I said, I have a naturally deep voice, so it's a lot more obvious when your voice goes from deep to very high. Eat honey? Yeah, it's funny. I was putting honey in my coffee for quite a while, and it was actually helping a lot. I should probably start doing that again. I also have that, you guys were recommending that, like, spray, that throat spray. So I had that, like, honey throat spray. That helps, too. I actually need to reorder it. They're empty. Yeah, I speak all day. And last week was insane. Last week I put out, like, what, 12 videos? Just a lot of talking. A nebulizer on standby, yeah. You can't post videos 2013, the YouTube's not going to allow you. The value low rotation on the cash profile is completed. And it looks like it's being respected. Unfortunately, if you're looking for the full session profile, we are not getting it right now. Like I was saying earlier, when you have a inside chop like this, it likes to respect that cash profile. So keep a close eye on the cash profile when you have these rotations. Yeah, it's probably another problem. I don't warm up my voice or anything. I wake up and I talk to you guys pretty much. Hey, UTZ, have a good day, man. We'll see you tomorrow. How do I warm up? I don't warm up at all. I literally wake up, I look at news, like I try to track headlines and look at like news for probably about 30 minutes or so. Get my coffee and then turn the stream on. That's my morning routine.
I tried to do those streams where I kind of did my 30 minutes of news with you guys on stream. To be honest, it was just really boring. I much prefer just jumping into stream with the daily open. Yeah, I definitely should drink a lot more water in the morning for sure. I'm just very ADD. Like, I'm very hyper focused. And I forget to drink water a lot. If you guys are new to my stream, you've basically seen it all in the last week. You've seen the days where I'm like hyper analyzing, looking at the tape and calling out every single move. And now you've seen the downside where when the days are boring, we're basically just not even looking at it. We're talking about UFC or housing, or we're off topic basically. If I'm ever off topic on my analysis, it's basically for a reason. It means I'm not paying attention. I typically don't pay too much attention around POC nodes or VWAP. I pay most of my attention around the extremes. So if we have inside days where we're just sitting on VWAP all day, I'm pretty much just brain off, don't care. I think it's a really good technique, I guess you would call it, that you guys should learn in your trading, just when to turn your brain off. It helps with mental exhaustion, so you're not just exhausted at the end of the day. And it helps with not taking trades out of boredom. Yeah, let me order some more of that throat spray while we're talking about it. I keep forgetting to. It's on like a recurring thing, but I need to make it go faster. Frozen, you're not going to see me trade on stream, so if that's what you're looking for, man, I'd just tell you to watch another stream, unfortunately. You guys aren't going to get that here. There's plenty of other streams that do that. I'm not one of them. How do I calculate ticks per row, or how do I calculate your ticks per row for the TPO charts? It is every 2 points. Every 2 points is 1 TPO. So that would be 8 ticks. Here's that cash rotation again. Cash rotation going into 1350. Don't want to sound like a broken record, but as I said earlier, just make sure you're watching that cash profile, the profile that starts at 930 on inside days like this. It likes to ping pong between that value high and value low. So instead of respecting Friday's value high and value low, we're respecting today's value high and value low, but even more so than that, we're not respecting the full session. We're respecting the cash profile, which they're sometimes the same, but today is a little bit off. Manuka Honey, yeah, I see a couple of you guys mentioning that. Yeah, my biggest problem for a long time was my acid reflux. My acid reflux just tears my throat up. So for the longest time, my voice would just crack, like literally like every sentence. I just couldn't fix it. And then I've slowly fixed my acid problem, which has repaired my throat to a certain degree. That's hilarious, Paul. Can I say the Qs will do the same? We'll do the same for... What's your question? I'm sorry. Are you asking, do the Qs and NASDAQ follow each other? Or are you saying my analysis on ES should do the same thing on NASDAQ? By the way, that rotation up is pretty much complete. So there's that rotation into 1350. You missed it by like one tick. Yeah, 2013, exactly the same. Yep. Pretty much anything I say on ES, like technique-wise, can be translated to NASDAQ. Yeah, stock market hours, exactly. Yep. Notice how when we are in these very tight cash rotations, it does not like to break the 30-minute structure. The 30-minute lows are being protected. The 30-minute highs are being protected. This high, I would still say, is protected because it swept that high. So yes, you did break, but you swept it. So when a sweep happens, I still consider that high being protected. It wasn't protected on the very first move, but it eventually was. I couldn't tell you options because I have no idea. I don't know who that is. I don't really follow like other influencers or traders and their techniques, so I couldn't really tell you. The only one that I know that people talk about all the time is like ICT, and I only know that because like everybody talks about it, right? It's probably like one of the most talked about, I don't know what you would call it, techniques or strategies or whatever. It's also just clickbaited into absolute oblivion. It seems like if you want to get views on your trading videos, you just put ICT in the title or the thumbnail and you get views. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's probably the like #1 most clickbaited thing. Yeah, I don't really follow anybody's like way of trading or theory or anything like that. Like if I had to pick a person, it would be like Dalton. I was on his podcast? Was I? If I was on his podcast, that's completely gone from my memory. I don't remember that. Might have been a long time ago. If I was, I feel bad now because I don't remember who that is, unfortunately. Yeah, the only difference in my analysis on NASDAQ compared to my ES analysis right now is their market structures are slightly different. You are leaning a little bit more bearish on NASDAQ right now because you're pressing back into the VWAP. You're bouncing off of VWAP on ES. So keep an eye on this little high rate here on NASDAQ. It needs to stay above 840 to invalidate that market structure. Right now on ES, we have a bulldog where we have a double bottom turning into a small bull flag. So I would say ES is slightly leading here. That's the only difference. Have I been on any podcast? I've done an Addis podcast, or I guess it's not a podcast, it's more like a webinar. And that's pretty much it in recent years. I might have done stuff way back in the day, like when I was on Twitch. I went on a few different channels back then. I couldn't even tell you what those channels are called anymore, and I have no idea. But not really my style. I'm not really a podcast person, especially if they're like in person or webcam focused. You guys know me. Like I said, I'm not trying to be an influencer. I think a lot of those podcasts are for people that are trying to be influencers. I'm just here to talk about rectangles. We talk about pretty rectangles and we talk about ugly rectangles, and that's about what we do here. How long have I been streaming? I started streaming on New Year's, I think New Year's Day in 2018. So I've been streaming almost every single day for coming up on 8 years. I'm a rectangleologist. Yeah, I like that. It's actually funny. You could put that on a t-shirt. Oh, I didn't think about that, Paul. That sounds terrible. Yeah. I like the first one you said. All right, definitely not putting that on a t-shirt now. You ruined that in about 3 seconds. Yeah, Martin, I am trading while streaming. I am just not trading on my screens. You're not seeing any trades pop up. My trades are down here on an iPad. It's literally not even on my computer. You guys couldn't see my trades even if I messed up. Like, even if I accidentally showed it, I can't accidentally show it. It's on my iPad. I have an iPad on a little stand over here, which obviously you can't see. If you guys have been here for longer than I'd say like 2 or 3 years, you've seen more of my trades. I used to show them more often back then. I just slowly got out of that. I went from like showing all of my, I used to basically be a signal group. Probably not to like that absolute degree, but we used to talk about our trades, like getting in them, managing them, getting out of them, pretty much the whole thing. Then I slowly went more into like the recapping the trades, so I would go over the trades afterwards. Then I started going into the more of the using the trades as like a teaching example. And now I'm just kind of like I don't even show them anymore. Every now and then possibly. I've just slowly moved out of it. Yeah, Paul, I'd be a massive hypocrite if I started doing stuff like that, though, because I used to talk shit about those streamers all the time. I don't talk shit about them anymore. I used to, though. About people who, like, just do the hindsight stuff. Where they're like, oh, this is how you guys could have made this much money. Yeah, Freeman, I used to have a joke, which I probably shouldn't even say on stream. It's gonna make a lot of people upset. But the ICT stuff, I used to say it stood for I can't trade. But no, I actually think a lot of the ICT stuff is actually it's okay. It's perfectly fine. I haven't looked into it recently. But back then when I used to look at like watch all those clickbait videos and whatnot, I feel like it teaches people the right ideas. Like it teaches people the right things to look for. The one thing I don't agree with the ICT cult is I've seen it more from ICT traders. The only close second is probably Elliott wave traders. They constantly tell people that like if you're not using like ICT, then you don't know what you're doing. It's like their way or the highway, right? I've seen it the most from ICT, and then like I said, the second most probably from Elliott wave. And then everybody else outside of that, they don't really give a shit. They're just like, okay, if you don't like what I'm doing, then do something else. That's my only problem. By the way, guys, there's absolutely no change in structure here. We're still just rotating. We are waiting for one of these 30-minute highs or 30-minute lows to be taken out. Like I said, if I'm not paying attention, it's for a reason. And right there, Freeman, is my other issue. My other issue with people that come up with, hold on, we'll come back to it. Let's pay attention here. All right, tape trading at 1450 on the highest. Let's see if we can hold above this 30-minute high. 30-minute high structure, 14 down to 13. It's literally just LVN trading, pretty much, Paul, yeah. Most of it is just like volume profile trading repackaged into price action trading. 1450 highest tick. I'm mentioning the highest tick because I'm trying to get you guys to understand what you're looking for. So you want to look for buy pressure holding above that highest tick. If it continuously stays below that highest tick, then you're losing momentum, obviously. Okay, highest tick is now 15. But yeah, what I was going to say earlier was one of the number one things I hate in trading is when people take content that's been around for decades, they repackage it, they slap their own name on it, and they say they made it. People used to claim that I was doing that when I first started streaming, and I would constantly have to go on a rant like every stream about how I'm not teaching you guys anything new. I'm just teaching you my spin on it. Instead of an LVN, it's a long rectangle, yeah. Now, like I said, I got nothing wrong with people who trade ICT. I think it's teaching the right concepts because most of it's just repackaged volume profile concepts. As long as you're not a cult member and you're telling other people, hey, if you're not using my methods, then you just suck at trading. As long as you're just doing your own thing and minding your own business, I don't give a shit. You guys know me. If it makes money, it makes money. I could not care less how you guys trade. The biggest reason people say like their way is the only way that works is because they want to sell you their course on their way, which their way is literally just a trading book that was made 20 years ago. Their course is $5,000. The trading book from 2001 is $20. So yeah, you always want to be skeptical of if somebody is telling you it's their way or the highway when it comes to trading. The first thing you want to ask yourself is, are they selling a course on their way? And if they are selling a course on their way, is it actually unique? Or can I find a trading book from 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago that goes over these same concepts, right? Okay, we are doing a good job holding above the 30-minute breakout. Every time it pulls back to 14, they are protecting it. The lowest tick right now is 13 and a quarter. So it tapped 13 and a quarter and then bounced out of it. My thought process behind everything in trading, whether it's courses, indicators, Discord groups, I mean, literally everything in the finance world. It's time in, value out, right? How much time do you have to put in? And I guess what you could also say in that regard is how much money do you have to put in? And how much value are you getting out of it? Is the value greater than, or is it worth it for what you're putting into it? Okay, 13 is the lowest tick now, so they have gotten a little bit lower value. On this bounce back up to 14, if it gets sold immediately, it's not looking good. If it even makes it back to 14, that sell pressure is decently strong. Yeah, it's like they have like fair value gaps, very similar to single prints. They're not exactly the same, very, very close though. Very similar to like LVNs. I don't know all the ICT terms off the top of my head, but I know there's another term for like liquidity hunts and like stop hunts and stuff like that. Those are just pretty much standard sweeps. There's another term for when the market structure is shifting. They've got like a fancy term for like the breakup structure and stuff like that. That's just standard market structure stuff. Like I said, they're teaching the right concepts. I just don't like when people repackage things and say it's their own stuff. It's trying to bounce back into that node. Highest tick was 1450. Actually, no, that was a few minutes ago. The tape is extremely slow. What was the highest tick just now? It was 1375. Let's see if they can get 1450 again. We have some really sticky price action today. Yeah, it's a reason why you guys don't see people in our chat like saying, hey guys, use this or do this, and you have to do this. Oh, you suck at trading if you don't do this. Because I ban all those guys immediately. There's nobody in our community that does that because they're not around for long. You don't see a lot of people doing stuff like that. You don't see a lot of people like bragging about how much money they make because I don't allow that either. It's trying to go back into a lower rotation here. If they do not see any buy pressure back above 14, where's that node, 1450? If they don't see that buy pressure back above 1450 very soon, this is going to go right back into rotation. Rotation goes back down to 06. 06, yep. So the bulldog on ES, this is pretty much a textbook bulldog if you guys don't know what it is. You have a bottom, a little bounce, double bottom, little bounce, puts in a little pullback, and then it breaks. So you had the break on ES. It gave you a little break there. You did not have the break on NASDAQ because you're a little late. NASDAQ is just now putting in that bulldog. So same thing here. Bottom, little bounce, double bottom, little bounce, and now we have that bull flag. So they're both still slightly bullish. They're holding that bulldog pattern. They need to break out like soon though. Here's that attempt. Let's see if they can break. Keep an eye on that 24 EMA. Does a good job showing you a break of balance. If you're continuing to break balance, you hold on to those EMAs. A very aggressive break holds on to the 80 EMA. A very responsive break breaks the 80 EMA but holds on to the 24. Yeah, I don't really mind at 2013. Like there is those channels exist because there is a demand for those channels. What I want people to understand is they just need to understand how easy all of that stuff is to fake. Which at the end of the day is why it makes it so pointless and showing shit like that, because it literally would take me maybe 5 or 10 minutes to fake that stuff. Once you enter that world, which I found out very quickly, which is why I don't do it anymore, you cannot please everybody. There's always going to be those viewers that want more. You show your trades, not enough. You need to show more. You show your broker statements, not enough. You need to show more. You trade live, I don't know, is it real money or are you using a fake account? It's just never enough. You cannot please people on the internet, so stop trying. Not finding any buy pressure above 1450. Highest tick is 15. It traded there for 2 ticks, sold down. We are not seeing an aggressive break of balance. We are seeing a passive break of balance, which means we need to respect or keep an eye on the 24 EMA, which is right here. If we start holding below 13, break of balance has failed. What's my greatest weakness that I'm working on right now? That's a good question. Probably not trading enough. I could probably trade a little bit more. I might be a little too picky. Hey, Israel, good morning. Like I said, I only trade like 2 to 4 times a day normally. I could probably trade maybe double that. Like with how many setups that I look for, I could probably easily double that. Maybe trade 4 to 8 times a day. Now, would they always be good trades? Would they always be like as good as the other 2 to 4? Probably not. But I definitely could probably trade a few times more, and it would be okay. Yeah, I've been streaming a little bit later recently, obviously, just because the stream's been doing really well. A lot of new viewers in here that I want to answer questions and hang out with. Yeah, we'll probably end stream here in a few minutes. I've been trying to go till like 11:45, 12 o'clock. I've also been just trying to stream for like if we started talking about a pattern, I want to see that pattern finish before I turn the stream off. So like right now, I'm trying to see what happens with this break of balance. But if we just keep chopping for the next few minutes or so, we'll probably call it. Yeah, TDL, they're pretty much, those are the only trades I take. If it's not in the playbook, I probably don't take it. I give you guys all of my information. You guys have my trade plan. You guys have my commentary. Like, you know exactly what I'm looking for. It would be pretty damn difficult for me to constantly commentate patterns and then trade other patterns or like trade against that commentary. I would just be breaking my brain. I'd be going against myself. You know what I mean? I don't know how I would do that. So you guys have access to my brain, you know what I mean? Like you guys hear everything. Okay, we are not holding above 1450, so it looks like that break of balance has failed yet again. Every single break of balance today has failed. Rotation back down to 06 is now the play. You need to watch out for VWAP. VWAP could turn into a failure to rotate. Yeah, the playbook's public. It's not going to be public for much longer. Because like I said, I think those videos are like criminally underwatched. So I'm going to put them, I'm going to make them Discord exclusive probably pretty soon, probably like within a month or so. It's a big pet peeve of mine on the stream that I like put time into making videos like that talk about my setups that I look for exactly like to a T. And then I have people that come in the stream all the time that they request videos like that and I tell them where to find them and they don't watch them, right? And then they come back like another week or so or another couple days later and they ask me questions that I very clearly answered in those videos. It just shows me that people don't want to put the time in when they do stuff like that. So to take away that pet peeve, I'm just going to take the videos off YouTube and just leave them in Discord. Because I know the people that join Discord want to put the time in. Okay, stalling on VWAP here, trying to fail to rotate. If it stays below 09, you're looking for 06 to finish that rotation. Very sticky price action today, just really getting stuck on these levels. Yeah, Cotton, I should do that more, definitely. I do just like that. I do want you guys to just go through the time to find them, though. To be honest, most of the time. If it's something that's like harder to find, I definitely don't have a problem posting it. But I've made most of my stuff pretty easy to find. So I like people just kind of putting in the effort to find what they're looking for. We're going to slowly over the next like 6 months or so, because like I said, I'm kind of on my hyper focus of remaking my content. Typically every year or every 2 years around summertime, I like absolutely just hyper focus on remaking a lot of my teaching videos. So over the next like few months, we're going to be remaking a lot of those. The ones that I remade recently that we're probably not going to talk about for the time being are like the volume profile stuff. I remade how to trade the balanced profiles, how to trade the imbalanced profiles, stuff like that. The videos that I definitely need to remake are like the indicators. Probably the standard price action, like the market structure and just how to read candlesticks and whatnot. I need to remake those as well. So we'll be talking more about those as well. Market profile, I remade that recently. I think it was like a year or two ago. And that video is pretty solid, I think. the how to trade market profile video. That one's pretty good. Yeah, the rollover top video is basically a remake of my first playbook video. Not exactly a remake, they kind of go hand in hand. They're very slightly different setups. So if you watch my episode 1 of the playbook, the very first video, I actually changed the names of the titles to see if they would get more traction on YouTube. So it's not like episode 1, 2, 3, 4. By the way, we're failing to rotate here. Need to see any buy pusher back above 1450. Yeah, the first episode of the playbook, that is basically a rollover top, but it's the bear div variation. It's like how in chess, right? In chess, you have like an opening, and then you have like 100 variations of that opening. That's the same in trading, right? So like you have the rollover top, and then that's like one of the variations of the rollover top. I think I said failing to rotate like 34 times. Yeah, you're just glued to VWAB, man. You keep getting glued to VWAB. Very sticky price action. We need stockfish for ES, yeah. All right, guys, we are way over time today. I typically end stream at 11:30. I'm going to call it here. Like I said earlier, and I said a million times today, just keep an eye on the cash profile. The cash profile is currently 15 down to 06. You have about a 10-point rotation. If you start significantly holding above 15 or below 06, then you are attempting to break that balance. Now, above 15 has probably a better opportunity to break out. Below 06, you still have to hold below 6,000. So if you don't hold below 6,000, you're just going to come right back. But above 15, you only have a couple of points left. So as long as it's holding above 19, you do have that possibility of that breakout. On NASDAQ, we need to hold above 855 or below 766. Anything in between those two, you are just rotating. You are stuck inside of Friday's value. Very common when you are stuck inside of a prior day's value that you trade like a D shape, a bell curve. VWAP is typically in the middle. You try to break, you fail. You try to break, you fail. You try to break, you fail. You just keep doing it over and over again. Now you have two variations of this that typically happen. I don't remember what day it was. I think it was Wednesday. But last week you had the sweep variation where you tried to break balance, you sweep, you come back down. You try to break, you sweep, you come back down. And then same thing, you try to sweep to the downside, come back up. And you just keep sweeping over and over again. And that gives you some really good trades. Then you have today's variation, which is a lot harder to trade, where you're not sweeping, you're just kind of protecting both sides. So like you're protecting the highs, you're protecting the lows. Not as easy to trade because it always looks like they're going to try to break and they just don't. The sweep is much more obvious, so it's much easier to trade. So today would be the non-sweep variation, just the chop variation. But all right, guys, that is it. If you guys are in Discord, I'll see you guys there. We'll be streaming in Discord for the rest of the day. If you guys are not in Discord, I'll see you tomorrow, same time as always. If you guys want to get some new Apex accounts and support the channel, you can use code BREW, B-R-E-W. They just announced an 80% off sale. I believe it's recurring as well, so 80-80. 80% for the first one, then it's recurring as well. If you guys want to check out Addis, there's a free trial in the description below. If you would like to get a better trial, if you sign up with that link, just send me an email, say, hey, I signed up, here's my email. I'll send it over to their team. They'll give you an extended trial. And if you guys want to check out Discord, it is in the description below as well. Here's my email if you guys need it. And that's all I got. I'll see you guys in Discord. Hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Look out for a recap later today. I will have a recap probably around 5 p.m. Eastern. Peace, everybody.